Thank you all very much, and thanks to Shilpa in particular for inviting me here. Why I'm here, I really don't know, because I've been here for an hour now and I've been learning a lot. You know, even if we talk about intelligence, it's 23 years since I left the business, so I really don't know what to talk about. But let me tell you something, because I heard some very interesting things. And one is that just remember, earlier in the panel before this, I think it was Colonel Hariharan who was talking about physical security, and it took me back to the days when I first joined intelligence. Because physical security is very important. But intelligence is as old as the hills, It's always been there. Every government, every king, every kingdom, everybody has required intelligence. It goes back to the time of Chanakya and his Arthashastra. So some people have made more use of it and some people have made less use of it. I mean, if I were to tell you that amongst our prime ministers, nobody took more interest in intelligence than Rajiv Gandhi did. He was fascinated by intelligence because he was new. He had become prime minister after being an airlines pilot. So this whole lot of information coming to him in the form of intelligence fascinated him. And there have been prime ministers, I can mention Narasimha Rao, for instance, who knew too much. And he didn't need too much intelligence because he himself was a very intelligent person. He knew all the languages, he knew what was happening where. And so somebody like that thinks that intelligence is mostly chugli-khori, as we call it. But I had the privilege to work for the last 5.5 years of my service with Prime Minister Vajpayee. And it was a great education because I think he was one of our finest prime ministers. If I might stick my neck out, I would say second only to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And one learned a lot from Atalji. He was a poet, he was a philosopher, but most of all, he was also Chanakya. He was a very smart politician. So it's a crazy kind of field, intelligence and security. They're both interlinked. And I'd like to remind you that there is no such thing as either foolproof security or foolproof intelligence. Otherwise, we would not have had assassinations all over the world. We've lost 2 prime ministers who were assassinated. And if we had the intelligence and the security, they would not have lost their lives. And every time something goes wrong, it's attributed to intelligence failure. And we are blamed. But all the good work that intelligence agencies do doesn't get known because it's not supposed to be known. Even I don't know what I'm talking about, what I'm talking, because you want me to talk. And likewise, when we talk about intelligence failures, I mean, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, 26/11, Pulwama, and I think the biggest of all, on the 7th of October, what happened to the Israelis it was their biggest intelligence failure, and Mossad actually prides itself to be the top of the lot, that they are the best. Who is the best and who is the worst is another matter, another subject for discussion. But I would like to assure you that we are pretty good. We are pretty good. We are all the time comparing ourselves with Pakistan because we seem to think that our main problem is Pakistan. And if it is Pakistan, then I will say that we are as good as Pakistan, possibly better. I don't know how many of you know, I wrote a book with a Pakistani retired ISI general. And he said to me, he said, you know, you people are smarter than us. I said, how are you saying that, General? He said, because you are professionals, you spend a lifetime in intelligence. In Pakistan, we are all Fauji's. We come, we go, and so we lack professionalism. They lack professionalism, possibly, but they have much more authority than we have. They have much more autonomy than we have. We are all the time overseen from the top. And when we talk of great prime ministers, like we have a great man now, you can be sure that he must be getting the best intelligence. You know? So he would be thankful for that intelligence, and I've attended one or two intelligence prize distributions at which Modi ji has spoken, and he's spoken in glowing terms of our intelligence agencies. So we are pretty good, I would say. And governments do depend a lot on intelligence. And when there's a failure, you need to admit, yes, there was a failure. Otherwise, Pulwama would not have happened. Otherwise, 26/11 would not have happened. Otherwise, so many things would not have happened. So, there will be failures, even in the future. I don't know how many of you have followed what happened to the Israelis on the 7th of October. And now Israel is in a sort of full-fledged war in Gaza. And as far as the Hamas is concerned, which attacked Israel on the 7th of October, they're quite happy. Because this whole thing, ultimately, no matter how many people die, and if you are familiar with the Palestinian problem or the Palestinian, you know, there is Gaza and there's the West Bank. And now, as I see it in the future, more and more people from the West Bank will be joining Hamas, because that is the kind of thing. And I think the Israelis are stuck in Gaza. However many people they might kill. In fact, today there was a news item that the government now is divided in Israel on what to do, how to go forward or not go forward. And I don't think Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to last very long. His days are numbered. And it will also affect, to my way of thinking, President Biden's re-election, if he hopes to get elected, because he's also emerged as a confused kind of person, supporting the Israelis when the rest of the world is critical of what is happening in Gaza. So there are things like that. I heard a panel discussion earlier where there was talk about Balochistan, you know what has been happening recently between Iran and Pakistan, that they fired at each other or whatever. I mean, in our world, in the intelligence world, I think one of the first things that comes to mind is that could it be a collaborative move? Could it be that they both fired for the same reason and in the same interest? So I'm not saying that what I'm suggesting is true or something, but that's the way intelligence people look at things, It's, a lot of it is completely bonkers or out of the box, as we call it sometimes. So intelligence is like that. I've spent most of my career in counterterrorism and in counterintelligence, if you understand what counterintelligence is. But counterterrorism means that dealing with insurgencies, militancy, terrorism, and I've dealt with it over a long period of time, and I still watch it in Kashmir. Now, in Kashmir, for instance, since August 2019, when Article 370 was abrogated, what we refer to loosely as militancy has come down because of our muscular policy. And when I say militancy has come down, what it means is that strikes, hartals, stone pelting, and even our boys, Kashmiri boys, getting involved in militancy has gone down. There is no doubt about it. But terrorism has not. And therefore, we have the army stuck in Poonch and Rajouri. And if you sort out Poonch and Rajouri, they'll take you to Kokarnag. And if you sort out Kokarnag, they will take you to Kupwara. Because Pakistan has the capability to do that. And therefore, right through while dealing with counterterrorism, I have strongly advocated engagement. I still believe that we need to engage with Pakistan. Unless we engage with Pakistan, the point about engaging with Pakistan is that Pakistan says Kashmir is our core issue. That core issue is gone. The Kashmiri doesn't give a damn about Pakistan now. But we say we want to discuss terror. So that's exactly what I'm suggesting today, that if we talk to Pakistan, then we could talk about terrorism. But these things, are for politicians to decide. And they must be thinking about all that. As I said, the earlier panel mentioned that we have a good relationship with Iran. I'm glad that we have a good relationship with Iran, because Iran is a very powerful country. It's been there for ages. And there's also a very powerful axis which has developed, whether we notice it or we don't notice it, between Iran, Russia, and China. It's a very powerful axis. We are all the time worried about China and Pakistan, but the more powerful axis is Iran, Russia, and China. And that is what we need to take note of. The answer again, we have a problem with China now. We had this problem since 2020 more seriously in eastern Ladakh. Again, my view clearly is that we don't want to go to war with China, so we need to engage with China. We need to talk to China. And then you might find an answer. And there's nobody in the world really today who wants war. The Russians invaded Ukraine, and they've been blamed for invading Ukraine. I'm not saying that what the Russians did was right, but the fact is that the Russians were pushed to a corner. I heard a Russian journalist who was clearly anti-establishment, a gentleman by the name of Posner, talk at the University of Yale. And he spoke for about 40 minutes, and he said, he told the Americans that everything that you have done is responsible for the way that Russia is headed. If you now say that we have a Hitler in Russia, you're right. But you created that Hitler. When Putin wanted to join the European Union, you denied him that position. When Putin wanted to join NATO, you denied him this thing. So you pushed him to war. So, that's what happens in geopolitics in the global world today. Somebody mentioned about elections. Yeah, this year there are going to be more elections, and I think more democracy is more at stake today than it has ever been, because there are elections everywhere, including our own elections are due in another few months. So, and somebody also talked about, I think, artificial intelligence. Now this is something which is developing. It's in the development stage. Don't take it for granted. I can assure you that the politicians are using it. And I can also assure you that businessmen are using it without knowing what it's going to actually produce. Today, in fact, I was reading, and I was quite amused, that artificial intelligence can be used to find out what is happening in the animal world, how elephants think, how bats think. It's that kind of thing. But it's a new thing. Basically, intelligence in our world, in the old world, is either from satellites or what we call technical intelligence. And lastly, which I think is the most important form of intelligence, is human intelligence. Now, I'm speaking here. If somebody is recording me, he'll have what I've said. But so many people hearing me, if they go and report on me, then that is human. And a former Mossad chief spoke recently in a long interview to Karan Thapar, and he said, the reason for the intelligence failure in Israel on the 7th of October was lacking in HUMINT. That Mossad did not have HUMINT from Hamas. So HUMINT is the most crucial thing in intelligence. Just remember that. I also mentioned counterintelligence, which I spent quite a lot of time on. Now, counterintelligence is watching what others are doing in your country. And we are obsessed with Pakistan. Of course, what Pakistan is doing in India is important. But it's also important what the Americans are doing, what the Russians are doing, what the Chinese are doing, what the Israelis are doing. And when I started by saying that Rajiv Gandhi was fascinated by intelligence, nothing fascinated him more than to get from his intelligence chief every evening which diplomat was doing what in Delhi. I know my time's up. Very fact that you come and stood here.
So I hate to do this.
So I have a feeling. I wrote a book recently. I've become very absent-minded. I haven't come here to advertise my book, but those who are interested in intelligence, there's a large chapter on intelligence in my last book called The Life in the Shadows. You could have a look at that. But I have a feeling, and I mentioned a sentence there in that chapter, that I think possibly at this point of time, because we have too many friends in the world, that I think we are not paying enough attention to counterintelligence. Thank you very, very much. if there's any question, actually I should have asked for questions rather than going on jabbering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. If we have, we'll take one question if you have, sir. Can we have the mic, sir, please? I can hear you, sir. Sir, it's just for the.
Pearl Harbor was not intelligence failure. Roosevelt was fully in the picture. That's now a fact has been proven and recorded.
That's right.
Yeah.
Roosevelt was fully aware
absolutely.
of it.
They wanted this.
I'll tell you something. When 9/11 happened, there is a theory that, what's his name, the CIA chief, George Tenet, who was a contemporary of mine, had that report on his desk, but he never read it. So what good is that? That is why we, in our jargon, we talk of actionable intelligence and novel intelligence. You know, when 26/11 happened, let me remind you, I'm talking about the attack on Bombay. There were reports in September that something is going to happen, and it's going to happen via the sea. And security was provided to the Taj Hotel there and the Oberoi and some of those Jewish restaurants and things. Nothing happened for a month, 2 months. And then everybody forgot about it. Ho gaya, kuch nahi hai. And then it happened. That's also, it's a question of how you read intelligence, you know? Does it ring a bell somewhere? Otherwise, it's a waste.
But then it brings a different question, rip-off from that after such a disaster took place, and you had all the proofs, but why did the Prime Minister keep low? We didn't react at all. There's a theory on that. I'm sure you've read about that also, which makes sense. So there's so many things which can lead to something very, very atrocious and scary.
Which Prime Minister are you talking
Indira
about?
Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi? About what?
No, I'm sorry. The Prime Minister at that point of time, what happened at the Taj?
That was Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Manmohan Singh. What happened? Why didn't he react?
Of course he reacted.
Hardly anything. You had all the proofs. I mean, let's face history as it stands. I mean, no pro-Congress or anti-Congress. You, sir, are in a position to know about this. There was no reaction which should have happened.
What did you expect him to do? Go to
Oh,
war?
you would know. Why not? Anything could have happened.
Okay.
But and you had all the proof.
All right.
You had all the proof.
I think this is.
I was in the government
I know.
when the attack on Parliament happened, okay?
Yeah.
I could watch it from my window in South Block. Why did we do nothing?
That's what I'm asking.
Because the army was not ready.